to say thank you to the organizers of the conference. I'm just like so impressed to have come here and to witness the folks that have been working hard to put this together. It's just such an amazing thing. So let's see. All right, we'll get started, I guess. I'm from Washington State. I grew up there and have recently been involved with the agricultural programs that is provided by Evergreen State College. This is a picture of the garlic there, and there's a 2.5-acre farm, certified organic experimental farm, we call it, on the Evergreen campus, and it's managed by faculty and students. There's a 13-person CSA that just are kind of the same people that have subscribed for a long time. The farm started in the 70s. It's more of just like a kind of it wasn't necessarily an agricultural program as it is now. It's really kind of expanding to more of and kind of going towards like a more sustainable ag program, which is hands-on for students to kind of put yourself in a management situation, and that's kind of the beauty of the program that is offered, is that it's rare that you get to work on a farm or work anywhere and you have just the ability to make mistakes and experiment with your harvesting techniques, if you don't know how to learn cool there's a wide variety of advantages that you get from being able to make mistakes. And so it's great to, I definitely think that putting yourself in a situation where you're not working for someone who's maybe barking at you to harvest faster or what have you, working on a farm, being able to expand that a little bit is a really valuable opportunity. But I mean, because of that, at the Evergreen Farm, it's a very unique situation because it's not necessarily the most profitable business. Technically, the farm does make money, but there's a group of about 20 to 25 students that are running the farm, and so often it sounds like it could be very efficient, but it's pretty hard to organize this many people on the farm. So what I'm going to kind of start out with is just I'm going to tell you guys about the Evergreen Farm and the agricultural program, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the perennial systems that we're gearing up towards, and we're going to go in that direction of more fruit and nut trees and expand our fruit production. So we're ready for the next slide. This is garlic, and then this is us looking at garlic and taking notes. Okay, so the program is 3/4 long. It goes throughout the growing season, so it's the spring through the fall. It's kind of, not everyone is interested in the same realm of agriculture as the next person, which is okay because the farm can facilitate quite a few aspects or areas of interest. We have livestock groups on the farm that you can, if you are interested in raising livestock, you can during your time working there. We raised 4 goats this last season. I was part of the perennial management group, and so we kind of did we pruned and thinned a lot, and did other kind of various perennial disease prevention type activities. Yeah, it's great. It's kind of like, if I'm sure you all have had, or know what the pressures of working on a farm can be like, and it's nice to kind of be alleviated a little bit from those pressures and to kind of have, like I said, have the ability to make some mistakes, which is, something that we all need to learn. So, yeah, it kind of, I think that the kind of what I'm saying with a farm, why I think the program itself, it's not necessarily this program that I think is a valuable experience, but kind of the experience, the training experience that something like this can facilitate. There's right now emerging, there's more and more of these farm incubator type programs that kind of allow people to have access to knowledge and to equipment and to be able to know what it's like to be a manager. So yeah, yeah.
Is this a program that only students and staff can participate in, or do you guys accept outside? We take volunteers certain days, but mainly it's just for the students and staff. It's good to just kind of keep there's only so much to do. It's kind of fun when there's like this new task that people are really excited, like getting on the tractor. Everyone wants to like learn how to drive the tractor. And so it's kind of competitive, and so we kind of try to keep people those who are in the program.
Is this something people are doing for publishing research or for credit, or is it just more like a extracurricular type?
Yeah, it's very, very self-driven in that sense. There's a couple of folks this last season that were doing experiments with groundnuts, which are this tuber. I think it's from the Andes, and we're just trying to grow. We have a research field that there's constantly various research projects happening. A friend of mine did a no-till. If you'd like a plot to do your research, your experiments on, you're granted that. So I had a friend who did this no-till project where he grew rye and vetch, and then, that was nice because he's interested in no-till agriculture, but his experiment was a total failure, and so it's good that he wasn't doing that on his own.
So is there grant money going to people doing research in this plot?
I believe so. I don't know much about that, but I believe there is. Yeah, you can get grant money to set up something in the research field, and I think there's about half an acre in the northern part of the farm that's for research, and it's near where there's a community garden plot as well. And the community garden plots are great because I did a project on, it was just my own experiment on these Andean tubers called mashua and oca, and they're just these kind of funny looking tubers that I grew in my community gardens plot, and I was kind of able to incorporate that with projects we're doing on the farm as well. And people can kind of take what they learn, take starts, and take little take tools over their plots, and so it's good. It's really a good thing to have a community garden near a farm because the resources are there. And so yeah, I think the next photo is a picture of the community gardens. Yeah, it is.
So yeah, community gardens is great because it does bring in other people from the community to see what we're doing. We sell, we're not that good at marketing. It's kind of something that's really hard for us to figure out. So there's a select people that know that we sell eggs, and so they'll come and buy eggs from us, and you kind of have to like knock on the door and go around the back here. And so that's good. You know, the community gardens brings in other people. Some people have been. I've been over the community gardens. There's a lot of older, old timers that are there. It's great having them around because they've got a bunch of old techniques and tips that they share with the younger gardeners, and so yeah. Let's see what's next. Okay, this is the West Field. So yeah, we practice. We definitely keep at least a third of our fields in cover crop throughout the season, and we practice building organic matter and means of sustainable agriculture. We have a disker as our main tilling implement. These are some fearless beekeepers. We have we keep bees on the farm. It's definitely one of these projects that is very difficult to pass on to the next generation, or the next steward to your bees. But what happened this season is we planted a buckwheat cover crop, and buckwheat flat has these beautiful little white flowers when they flower. And we had no bees at the time, but we did have these hives that were set up, and then a swarm from another hive swarmed, and they probably really liked our buckwheat cover crop, and they probably really liked our beehives, so we got a bunch of bees this last season. So it's not it's something that if you chose to, you have the equipment for harvesting honey and the equipment for keeping bees. So it's kind of, if that's something that a student would be interested in, and it's available. It's really self-driven. We've got this mobile chicken coop. This was a project from the last class. Mobile chicken coops are awesome. You can move them around from paddock to paddock, and they're great. We've got about 38 or so birds, and sometimes they grow in numbers, sometimes they shrink in numbers. Yeah.
Do you guys have any predators for the chickens around your area, or do you have any issue with that?
Okay, so we do have 10-foot fencing around the perimeter of the farm. Deer definitely get in, and it's kind of a task to lead them out. And we have had coons in the past that have killed chickens. Neighbor dogs get in, fun. And this is ProFence. Is the name of this electric fence. It's great. One of the best electric fencing you can get. Actually, I have to take that back. I think there's better electric fencing. But this doesn't really work all the time. But it's pretty effective with predators. We didn't have much of a problem last season with that.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So what is the strategy? Do you actually mobile chicken coops? Do you actually move them around the property again?
We move them about, depending on the time of year, but we move them about once a week. We do move them around. It takes about 2 people to lift and move the coop from plot to plot. And it's a really effective tool. It's great to have.
So what is the strategy?
The strategy is to increase the amount of land that gets foraged and grazed. So we can move them from the from the orchard to the back 40 area, or just different sections of the farm. And chicken manure is great. It's great to, chickens eat a lot of weed seeds that help kind of clear out. We'll put them in an area fallow before we till, and they do a good job clearing out seed beds. And chicken manure is great nitrogen source as well.
You said that you have fruit trees there. Are you considering doing the same thing with pigs, perhaps, that could eat fruit that would fall on the ground and kind of till while they're walking around?
Yeah, sometimes pigs can be kind of too aggressive digging, so that's why we raised pigs on the farm in the past years, and they're great. But sometimes they'll kill a tree, they'll dig up roots, and so they're not the best animals to have in your orchard. There could be certain breeds that might be better. I'm not totally sure. It's great to have poultry, especially ducks and chickens in your orchard, though. And we're going to talk about that later when we talk about codling moth and other pests, because chickens they eat up a lot of, and ducks as well. We also have ducks on the farm, and slugs are a huge problem on our farm. So ducks love slugs, and ducks are laying eggs throughout the winter. In the north, in Washington, we have kind of long winter, long dark winters, and the ducks are still out there foraging. They eat earthworms as well. So yes.
Yeah, like what's the climate like? How does that affect your growing season? How close you get in the winter, how hot, so?
Well, that's a really good question, because I kind of want to clarify a couple things with Washington, a very unique state, a beautiful example of such diversity in one state. I'm sure, and Wisconsin is well, actually, I don't know if that was. But so we have some relatively cool summers, which are generally, and it's kind of hard to answer that too, because we've experienced such freaky weather recently. But generally we have like kind of a drought throughout July and August, very little rains, and then steady rains throughout the winter, spring, and fall, and about 3 months of summer, long falls, and a lot of rain. Last year we had about 48 inches of rain in Olympia. But Washington has a very, very diverse areas where the mountains will create rain shadows in places where, like for example, in western Washington, there is a place that's very good for growing grains and for fruit production that is in a big rain shadow in western Washington. And it's very rare to find a place in western Washington that you can do that, because it's so wet most of the year. But eastern Washington, when you hear about Washington, a lot of people, in fact, when I was invited to speak at this right now, I was told, oh, you should talk about apples because you're from Washington. But the truth is, apples are produced in eastern Washington, east of the Cascade Mountains, not so much in western Washington. Western Washington's climate does not really fit the hot summers that it takes to make a good ripe fruit. We definitely can grow fruit in western Washington. There's no doubt about that. But we definitely have a lot of disease pressure for codling moth and a lot of fungal diseases where we are. It definitely it varies from year to year. This last season we had a great apple harvest and very little codling moth damage. So, but in eastern Washington, there's kind of mega orchards out there, but right now it's dwindling. There's less and less, especially there's more and more kind of the same apple varieties in eastern Washington, and less diverse apple varieties, which is a shame, because there's thousands of apple varieties that exist, and throughout history there's been expanding more and more varieties of apples, and as the market demands just the same galas and red delicious Granny Smith apples, then people are just going to be growing those, and so we're losing a lot of diversity in apple varieties right now. And in fact, we're also losing a lot of orchards in eastern Washington right now. It's way cheaper to import apples from New Zealand and Chile, and so the apple market is definitely suffering from that. People want to eat apples year-round as well, and so there's usually just a big surge in the late fall where eastern Washington just pumps out a ton of apples. And it's been very, very hard for organic growers in eastern Washington because of common moth pressure. To have a large orchard, it's very, very difficult if you're an organic grower because of pressure from common moth. So far, I mean, there's been a lot of work to look for common moth controls, and a lot of those are working quite well. I went to a very large organic orchard this last season in eastern Washington, and I think it was the largest organic orchard in eastern Washington. It was about 100 acres, which is very small though compared to what Treetop has out there, a lot of other big guys. So anyway, any more questions about apples and watermelon?
I was just wondering with the chicken coop, like how big of an area do you section off?
Oh, let's see. I think the fence is it's about, I'd say it's about half this room. The coop is about the size of it's an old, the coop is actually just the old chicken coop. We built a new one, and we put wheels on it, and it's just like the size of, it's big enough that it has, you can have 2 people, there's wheels on it, you can pick it up and move it around. And then, as much fence as you have, that's as big as your pasture can be. Yeah, it takes about an hour to move it. The fencing is kind of a pain, but you get your technique down. And then it's a battery-powered electric fence, which is a pain. We want to get a solar-powered one soon because it grounds out. With the battery-powered one, there's weak connections throughout the fence. So if you were to do this, I really recommend investing in the solar-powered ones because they work a lot better. These ones you have to trim the grass where you're set up the fence because that can disrupt the current. So
With solar power do well in Washington?
yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know too much about that, but there's a lot of folks that have solar panels and stuff. Yeah.
Just a quick question. How old is your orchard?
It's 12 years old, planted in 2000. There's actually 2. There's then in 2006, there's another orchard that my friend Jacob planted. That's on the other side of the farm, and there are different varieties of apples. We on the farm we grow Gold Rush, Enterprise, and Williams Pride mainly. And the orchard's not super big; it's about 1/4 of an acre. And but I guess now it's almost about half an acre. No, it's less than that. It's a little more than a quarter of an acre now because we're expanding the orchard. We grafted some new trees. I think I'll get back to more of the orchard stuff in a little bit though. Because yeah.
Do you use supplemental lighting in the wintertime to keep your hens laying?
No, we don't. The hens just don't really lay in the winter, but they sure do in the summer. What's a tractor do? You get to learn about these types of things, and I call it the PSA program, the Practice of Sustainable Agriculture. And yeah, this is one of the professors, Jacob here. He's telling us probably about how to use that disker there. Hoop houses for tomatoes. These are some faculty. Oh, sorry, you can see these guys. You can see our faculty in percent of hoop houses for tomatoes in the ground. And yeah, those are just kind of some fun pictures to give you guys an idea of All right, cool. Look at this, apples. So a very popular type of rootstock that we use in Western Washington is M26, which was developed in, I think, like 1902 or something like that. And it's about 100 years old. And it's probably the most popular rootstock used in Western Washington, just as far as its resistance to fungus, wet conditions, and frost. And it's technically a dwarf rootstock. And trees, we usually have about 5 scalpel branches, which are the main branches that you can control the main scalpel branches. About 5. One technique that we tried this year was blossom cleaning. Usually, and later in the season, we thin actual fruit. But we thin blossoms this year. I'm not totally sure how well it worked, but because it's kind of, when the fruit comes, there's still clusters of fruit that you have to thin. Oh yeah, I'd say that our pruning technique is called the many hands pruning technique. Generally what we try to do is make sure that trees are exposed to enough air circulation and light. And so, to cut off suckers that are going straight up in the air. But it's called the many hands pruning technique because it varies so much because so many people are usually out there with pruning saws and loppers and just kind of going for it. So it's not like a specific pruning technique that we stick with. It varies from year to year. So this year, actually we'll talk about cotton moth, yes. Let's see. Nice. Okay, here's an orchard in spring. It's pretty. Oh, okay, so hold on, let's do this real quick. We grow strawberries and raspberries. We did, at one point, we have fall bearing and summer bearing raspberries, but we got rid of the fall bearing raspberries, I think, to make more room for strawberries. And we have strawberries, our hood, and TriStar. And TriStar is a variety that does very well in Washington. I know a lot of other growers that grow TriStar berries, and they're great. We had a great harvest this last season. We made a lot of jam. We still have. And okay, you know what? One thing that's important about just the and I'm supposed to be kind of talking specifically about the perennial on Evergreen Farm. And it's definitely important to focus on what perennial crops, I'm going to talk more about this, but what perennial crops you can have and where you put them on your farm, because what happens when you have perennial crops is you're practicing one of the best ways of conservation tilling and keeping that food network alive in your soil is very, very important, which is why I think there's a lot of huge future with sustainable agriculture with tree crops. And so, there's in the soil, the practice of conservation tilling really, really will increase your soil quality, help with soil texture, and increase populations of soil microbes and mycorrhizae fungal activity in the soil as well. So, that is definitely an important aspect of perennial agriculture. Yeah.
Along with that, does your farm use any sort of companion plantings or orchards?
We've seeded comfrey around the. Are you familiar?
Yep.
Okay, it's hard to say. I'm not used to this.
Comfrey.
Yeah, I just don't know always if I'm in the right or if it smells and that's why. But anyway, we've seen comfrey around, which I kind of wish we didn't because it just goes crazy. It's just all over the place now. But comfrey has a big, deep taproot that can bring potassium from places where it's leached to. So it's that's one thing we've done in the orchard. It's really important for us to pasture our poultry in the orchard to keep down some pests that develop around the orchard. So it's kind of hard to keep anything really planted there. Berry patches, yum. Okay, codling. This is a huge problem. Or in the past, it's been a huge problem. It's kind of, I recently read about the apple maggot here. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with apple maggot. That's a Wisconsin apple pest. We don't really have apple maggot I've never seen it before in Western Washington. But codling moth it has seen almost any orchard in Washington, I'm sure. Overall, in eastern Washington, it's managed with pesticides, and it's very, very hard to, as I said, in eastern Washington, to have a large orchard and not use pesticides. That's why it's been quite a challenge for organic growers because of this pest. Right now, there's a lot of controls that people are experimenting with to work with to control codling moth. One that I've seen a lot of people use are these pheromone traps, and the pheromone traps release the scent that the female moth the scent that she produces during mating season, or during the time that they mate. I think in eastern Washington there will be 3 generations of codling moth throughout the season. So you have to really time it right, and the pheromone traps will not only tell you when they're you can control their mating time, because then they'll mate with the females, and the females will hatch eggs that are not learned for stick or whatever much things are. And eggs that have no, they're not going to hatch. Okay, so that's one. There's Another one that I've seen, a friend of mine uses is this kaolin clay, Kaolin clay. It's pretty much what the common moth does is it goes into the calyx of the apple down here and lays their egg in the calyx, and then the maggot goes up and eats the protein-rich seeds there in there, and so pretty much what the clay does is it repels the moths because there's all these tiny particles that get onto the moths, and they makes them uncomfortable. Is not a good place to lay eggs, and it also kind of clogs the calyx, so they aren't able to lay there. And then the kind of the hard part is the tricky part is that the clay comes off during the rain, so it's kind of a tricky thing to figure out. Yeah.
Is that why people put pantyhose around apples?
Yeah, good question. Well, they're called footies, but they protect the calyx from any moths laying eggs in there, and that's what we did this year. Except for we had such little, we also left a lot of trees uncovered, and this year we just had such a low numbers of calling moth. I think that's because we've done such a good job with pasturing our poultry in the orchard, because what the calling moth does is they overwinter in the lower bark of the tree, or sometimes even in the leaf litter of the tree. And so they'll overwinter there, and then when you pasture your poultry there, they will get eaten up before they can come back in the spring. And really, I think it's the other issue with these large farms is just the lack of biodiversity in their farms, making it harder for them, making it just a feed frenzy for a common moth. And I know there's a lot of wasp species and fly species that their larvae will eat the larva of common moth, and so to attract those species, you want a lot of various flowers and honey farm. Or you can order those, or you can actually buy those. There's a certain wasp. I don't remember the name of it right now, but that's another control for growing moth. Yeah, there's another. There's a biological control that is it's called CMGB, common moth granulosis virus, and that is it's a larvae that affects the stomach of the larvae of the common moth. A lot of growers are using that as well. And then kind of the main way to prevent common moth though is figuring out the generations within the season, and you can figure that out by really knowing degree days of how long it takes, how warm it's going to be, what the conditions are when the calling moth wants to mate, and then being able to time that with using the pheromone traps or what have you, whatever control, or spraying clay. But definitely biodiversity is always comes back to that. You guys have any questions about calling moth? Okay. I think we'll move on. I keep feeling like I'm forgetting some stuff, but it's okay. Okay, so this man here is Michael Nolan. He owns a nursery south near Mount St. Helens and on Alaska, Washington, so about an hour or so away from Olympia. and he owns a nursery there that he's a very, very strong nut enthusiast. And if any of you are looking for a very good source of sign wood and rootstock, I would really, really recommend his nursery. He sends stuff all over the country. I'm not sure what international it says, but all over the country. It's great. He has a lot of rare fruit varieties. But anyway, so Washington and Oregon, mainly Oregon. Oregon grows the most, is the #1 producer of filbert nuts, hazelnuts. And this is a tree here, filbert tree. We try to call them filberts. I'm not sure why, but I don't really know. I think there's some different. I think the filbert's typically a variety of hazelnut. All right, but so let's see. I'm gonna pull something up real quick. I'll just let you guys read this. This is something that Michael Dolan just wrote. It's called, the title is Healthy Nuts or Health Nuts. It's just about kind of perennializing our carbohydrate source, and with nuts, supplementing that with nuts. Nuts kind of used to be more of a popular thing in the European diet, and all over the world people eat a lot of nuts. And it's definitely a really important food source. Especially with these chestnut trees that he has at his nursery are huge. He's got some trees that produce, like, on a single tree will produce over 800 pounds of nuts per season. And there are trees, if you let these chestnut trees go, they can produce like over 1,200 pounds of nuts per season. There used to be a lot of chestnut trees planted in Thurston County, which is the county that Olympia is in, when people were first settling there. And a lot of them have been taken down, but there's a couple that are left. And like there's one that's near an airport in Thurston County. It's huge, it's gigantic, and only a couple people know about this tree. And people go out and harvest nuts from there. It produces over 1,200 pounds per year of chestnuts. And so definitely where the Northwest is good for growing nut crops. So another interesting thing that Michael Dolan is doing and what we're going to do on the farm with Michael is expand our kiwi, the kiwis that we grow, and these are vine kiwis that are native to Russia, and they're found up in very, very, very cold places, and also where a lot of coniferous trees grow, which is great. We have a lot of coniferous trees. And what the tendency of these kiwi vines do is they vine up a conifer tree, and then fruit up the tree. And so I've seen a lot of these vines at Michael's place, and you have to climb up this giant Doug fir, and you pick kiwis on your way up. It's really cool. It's actually a beautiful thing to get to do. But when you build trellises when you're doing production, when you're growing on the farm. We're going to expand. We're going to get a lot of these different kiwis this next season. We're going to get them started. We have a couple of kiwi varieties on the farm. They're not very good. We don't know what's wrong with them. They're open pollinated. They need plants. But they're just kind of a funky
that?
How's the fruit different?
The fruit, the taste is very, very similar. But they're kiwi berries. They're a lot smaller and they don't grow in tropical areas. This is a variety called Cal. Okay, is there, how much time?
You just have a few more, another minute or two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe should I just take some questions?
Yeah, that
Can I
sounds
take
great.
some questions? Yeah?
What do you find is one of the biggest things about continuity among your whole setup? Because it seems like, when you have students, they're going to come and go.
Yeah.
So what's a major thing that keeps your program going?
That's a really difficult aspect of running a farm. That's like that people come and go so often, and that's why it's been a challenge. We really tried to focus more on livestock, but that's very challenging when you have so many people going in and out of management positions. But I guess that's why certain things are more successful on the farm. Certain things are experiments and just are really there for education reasons. I kind of wish that's just the nature of a program like this, and I think that a lot of similar programs struggle with the same beasts. So yeah.
Sorry. You said your program's been around for like 30 years, and
Yeah.
obviously you haven't been around that whole time. But it just seems like a really successful program. Like there's a lot of student interest.
Yeah.
But how would you describe like the community where your school is located and like the interest, I guess, of the community in your farm and like, outreach and stuff?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, we do a couple kind of agrotainment type events. Every year we have a harvest fair where we press the majority of our apples go towards making cider. We have a big cider press and we're making cider at the harvest fest. And that brings in a lot of people. We've got bands that come and play rock music and it brings in a lot of people. A lot of people, especially students, are really interested in the farm. They want to come and volunteer. Usually they kind of dwindle out because they're not getting paid or anything. They're volunteers, which is great. Throughout the season, it's really fun to have people come out and visit the farm. We get elementary school kids come all the time, and it's great because there's so many diseases too on the farm that we don't have to worry really about washing our boots too much. So we have tours all the time. It's really laid back and people kind of can run around and have fun. So yeah, it's really well accepted in the community.
I think we'll call it there for now.